The fire is dying down. Your stomach is full. There is nothing left to hunt tonight, nothing left to gather, nothing left to build. So what do you do with the hours before sleep? You play. For most of human history, this wasn't a rare luxury. It was a nightly ritual. Long before smartphones, before television, before written rules of any kind, your ancestors were already doing something remarkably close to what you do to unwind tonight. They were laughing. They were competing. They were telling stories that made the whole group lean in closer to the flames. It's easy to picture prehistoric life as an endless grind of survival. Wake up, find food, avoid predators, sleep, repeat. But that picture is incomplete. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years living among the hoansi San people of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last hunter-gatherer societies on Earth, and in 2014 she published a study comparing their daytime conversations to their nighttime ones. During the day, talk was practical. Complaints, gossip, logistics. But at night, around the fire, something shifted. Nearly all of it became storytelling. Songs, dances, tall tales about ancestors and animals, told with exaggerated voices and sweeping gestures, designed purely to entertain. Why would that matter? Because firelight did something daylight couldn't. It stretched the day. It gave your ancestors 2 or 3 extra hours where survival wasn't the only task in front of them. And in those extra hours, something universally human took over. Play. Here's where it gets stranger. We tend to imagine games as a modern invention, something that showed up with dice and playing cards and board squares. But archaeology tells a different story. In 2013, archaeologist Haluk Saglamtama and his team were excavating a burial site called Hoyuk in southeastern Turkey. Inside a roughly 5,000-year-old grave, they found small carved stones, some shaped like pigs and dogs, arranged with painted pebbles and dice-like pyramids. It wasn't a hunting kit. It wasn't a tool set. It was a game. One of the oldest gaming sets ever found, buried with someone as if they'd need it in whatever came next. Think about that for a second. Before writing existed in that region, before most of what we'd call civilization, someone had already decided that play mattered enough to bury with the dead. And it goes back even further than that. Small carved knucklebones, called astragali, taken from the ankle joints of sheep and goats, show up at archaeological sites across the ancient world, worn smooth from being handled again and again. Rolled like dice. Tossed for games of chance. Some researchers believe this simple bone, small enough to fit in your palm, might be one of the very first randomizers humans ever invented. A prehistoric version of rolling a 6-sided die. So let's reconstruct a night from about 5,000 years ago. The sun is down. The fire is lit. Someone pulls a leather pouch from their belt and shakes it. Inside, a handful of smooth bones. Around the fire, half a dozen people crouch on the packed dirt, waiting their turn. There is laughter when someone rolls badly. There is a groan of mock outrage. A child watches from the edge of the circle, memorizing the rules simply by watching them played over and over, the way children have learned games in every generation since. This wasn't idle time. It was social glue. Games like this taught turn-taking, taught negotiation, taught how to lose without breaking the group apart. In small, tightly knit bands where cooperation meant survival, a shared game around the fire wasn't a distraction from the serious business of living. It was part of it. Now here's the twist that flips the whole picture. We often assume that entertainment is a reward for civilization, that once humans figured out farming, built cities, and had more free time, they finally got around to inventing fun. But the evidence points the other way. Play may be older than agriculture. Older than permanent settlements. Older, possibly, than complex language itself. Some anthropologists argue that games and storytelling weren't a byproduct of human intelligence. They may have helped build it. Practicing strategy in a low-stakes game. Reading another person's bluff. Predicting an opponent's next move. These are the exact cognitive skills that would have mattered just as much on a hunt as they did around a fire. By the time you reach the ancient world proper, this instinct had fully bloomed into structured games with fixed rules. Around 2600 BCE, the archaeologist Leonard Woolley was excavating royal tombs in the ancient Mesopotamian city of Ur when he uncovered an elaborately decorated board, inlaid with shell and lapis lazuli, alongside a set of playing pieces. Today it's known as the royal game of yore, and it's one of the oldest complete board games ever recovered. It used dice. It used strategy, and clay tablets found centuries later actually explained its rules, meaning archaeologists in the modern day could sit down and play a 5,000-year-old game almost exactly as it was originally played. Museum curators have set up matches using the original rules, and the game holds up. It's genuinely fun. That alone should tell you something. The line between ancient ritual and game night is a lot blurrier than we like to think. So what does any of this have to do with you? You still do this. Every single night, in one form or another. You still gather around a glowing screen instead of a glowing fire. You still roll dice, whether it's a board game with friends or a mobile app that simulates the exact same randomness those ankle bones once provided. You still tell stories to make people lean in, still compete for the simple pleasure of trying and sometimes losing, still teach games to children by letting them watch before they play. None of this is new behavior wrapped in new technology. It's the same behavior, unbroken, stretching back through fire circles in the Kalahari and grave goods in Turkey and painted boards in Mesopotamia, all the way to whatever you did last night to unwind. The fire is dying down. Your stomach is full. There is nothing left to hunt tonight, nothing left to gather, nothing left to build. So you play. You always have.